The following is a production of Cary TV, the Town of Cary's government access channel.
Call to order the February 11th meeting of the Cary Town Council. And at this time, I'll recognize Mrs. Robinson for our ceremonial opening. Mrs. Robinson.
Well, thank you so much. Please join me in pledging allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're at agenda item 1.3, which is the adoption of our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to recognitions, reports, and presentations. We have special guests in our audience this evening, and I would like Mr. Patrick Carricker of Troop 244 from Peace Presbyterian, who's earning his Communication Merit Badge, to stand and be recognized. Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 2.1. It's the operations update, and I'm going to call on Mr. Carl Knapp for that update.
Good evening, Council. Last time we updated you on revenues in December, this little green line here was barely visible, so we are improving in our general fund revenues versus our budgeted level. You can see that the sources of that are largely from several taxes that we have. Sales tax is up above 2% over budget in terms of what we're projecting. The rate of growth in sales tax is about what we had projected in the budget, but we finished up last year better than we had expected. This is a tax where we don't see the revenues for the prior fiscal year finish off until into the fall, so we got some benefit from that. In the other taxes area, we're seeing the increases there coming from the distributions of ABC system profits that we get from the county and the occupancy tax as well. Property tax is up just a little bit. This is due to increases in assessed value over what was projected in the spring. As we move further into the year, we'll see improvements because our collection percentage should be higher than we had expected in the budget as well. Permits and fees, we're still a little bit behind in building permits, but some of the other permits that we have in there are running ahead of schedule. We should see some improvement as the year goes on in that. We're expecting SAS to pull a permit for their new building, and that will add some additional funds in there as well. Most of the other changes are fairly small in our revenues. I would note that down at the bottom, you'll see solid waste and recycling is about 1% below expectations. The house count is just a little bit lower than we were expecting for this year, but otherwise it's doing fine. I'd be happy to take any questions council might have.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. I would like to know what you mean by house count.
When we project the solid waste fees, it's a fee per house, and so we assume a certain number of houses will be in place, and it's just a little bit lower than we had expected.
So it's literally house count.
House count.
Okay. Very good. Other questions from council? All right. Thank you, Mr. Knapp.
You're welcome.
We now move to our next agenda item, item 3. It's Public Speaks Out. We've included instructions for speaking at this forum on the printed agenda. And if you would like to speak, I would ask that you take a seat in the rows to my right that are shown as reserved and follow the instructions on the printed agenda. Public Speaks Out speakers have 3 minutes for their comments, and each speaker may speak on any topic as long as it's not a public hearing. There's a 3-minute time limit, and to be fair to all of our speakers, I will enforce that time limit. There's a timer located on the speaker's podium. When the green light turns yellow, you'll have 30 seconds remaining. When the time expires, that yellow light will turn into a flashing red light, and I will interrupt you at that time and ask you to immediately conclude your comments. I thank all of our speakers in advance for adhering to the 3-minute time limit. I also ask that groups have a spokesperson to speak on their behalf to reduce repetitive comments. And I thank everyone in the audience for respecting that this is a business meeting. Please do not applaud or make remarks from your seats or anything else that might distract from this meeting. So now's the time for Public Speaks Out, and I would invite our first speaker forward. No one for Public Speaks Out? Okay. We'll close Public Speaks Out and we'll move to the consent agenda. For the benefit of people watching our meeting on TV, the only items on the consent agenda tonight are approval of minutes. One vote approves but sets the minutes, sets of minutes. And I would ask council members if they would like any of these minutes pulled for changes or discussion. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And that takes us to public hearings. Same rules apply for public hearings that applied for Public Speaks Out, with one exception. Instead of 3 minutes, you now have 5 minutes. Our first public hearing is to consider an economic development incentive grant for Kellogg's. Ms. High of our staff will present the item. We're going to open the public hearing, and council may take action. Ms. High.
Good evening, Council. This public hearing provides an opportunity for interested persons to present their views regarding an economic development grant from the town of Cary to Kellogg's should they decide to expand their facilities within the corporate limits of the town of Cary. Under the proposed contract, the town would make a $216,450 grant to Kellogg's. This project is expected to help stimulate the local economy through a $19.5 million capital investment in real and personal property in the town and through the retention of jobs. The proposed contract specifies a payment schedule that requires the capital investment milestones to be met before grant payments are made and includes clawback provisions should the facility cease operations or fail to maintain jobs. Following the public hearing, council may take action.
Thank you, Ms. High. Now's the time for the public hearing for incentive package for economic development, and I would invite our first speaker forward. Anyone to speak at this public hearing?
Patrick's going to talk.
I'm sorry? Okay.
I'm in favor of the initiative.
Patrick, for the public record, I'm going to ask you to state your name.
Oh, I'm Patrick Carricker.
Thank you.
And I'm in favor of the initiative because it pays for itself in 3 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak at this public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. I would open it up to council members for questions, comments, or a motion.
Well, since people might be watching this who aren't familiar with it, it might be good to just mention that we have gotten feedback from some public. We had at least one person who is concerned about us giving an incentive. And the important points for us to comment about, as Patrick said, is that we're offering an incentive that's worth 3 years, basically, of the taxes that the company will be paying in. After that point, then it is we'll be collecting taxes on this property, which are good. This is not a city infrastructure-heavy project, so it's not like we're going to be spending a lot of money on infrastructure to serve this site. In fact, they're going to be paying for a segment of our reclaimed water system, so that's also a benefit to our community.
And they have, what is it, $19.5 million in capital investments on this project, so that's a big benefit for the town. Other comments? Motion?
Looking at me, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution that transfers funds and authorize the manager to negotiate, execute, and administer a local development grant agreement that is similar to the resolution that was attached to the agenda.
Okay.
And I'll second.
And the second, discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hyde. We now move to item 5.2, public hearing for the rezoning request at Piney Plains Road. We're going to hear from our staff and allow the applicant to explain the request. We're going to conduct a public hearing. Council will not take action. Instead, we're going to refer this to our Planning and Zoning Board. Ms. Grant.
Thank you. Good evening. This is a request to rezone property located at 2304 Piney Plains Road on approximately 1.3 acres. Subject property is shown here highlighted in yellow, and the aerial view shows that it is currently vacant. The site is not impacted by any stream buffers or floodways. There are no impacts to Cary's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Facilities Master Plan. The property is located along Piney Plains Road, which is a thoroughfare, so therefore a 50-foot roadway setback would be required for any residential development along this road. And there is a future proposed C-Tran route along Piney Plains Road. The land use plan designation is medium density residential. The existing zoning is residential 40. The applicant has proposed residential 20. They had looked for something that was already represented along Piney Plains Road, and as you can see, some of the other parcels shaded in pink are also zoned R20. In addition to that, there are several R40 zoned properties that are approximately half acre. So this was consistent with other development in the vicinity. Just to bring you up to speed with what the dimensional standards are with R20, it would be a maximum density of 2.17 dwelling units per acre, minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet, a minimum lot width of 90 feet, and then the 50-foot roadway setback along a thoroughfare, 10-foot side, and 25-foot rear. The landowner had sufficient land to do 2 lots, but they did not have the width to be able to do that, hence the rezoning. Property owners within 800 feet were notified by mail of the request, and the property was posted and advertised. Staff has not heard any comments from any adjacent property owners other than to just clarify what the request was. The applicant is present, and following the public hearing, will both be available if you have any questions.
Thank you. At this time, I would invite the applicant forward to explain their request.
Good evening. The main purpose for this lot, my friend and I, we just want to build our houses, custom build, so we have the ability to do, as we see fit as far as design. So it's just for our own, our own usage.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. This time I'll open the public hearing for rezoning 15 REZ 27, the 2304 Piney Plains Road lot. Anyone to speak at this public hearing? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing and open it up to council. I would like to make a comment. Oops. Could you go back to, actually, that's fine. My only, and it's not a concern, my only comment is that the single-family residential on that side of the road, those houses look like 1960 and 1970 homes. And we talked not too long ago about the lifespan of a house being around 40 years or more. So they're reaching that point. And we ought to be thinking as a council, how's this going to redevelop? And now we're adding new homes, if it's approved, new homes on that stretch. So just something to think about. Is that going to drive that this remains single family, which is probably fine with me, but something to think about in the future. Any other comments? Okay. We're going to forward this to our Planning and Zoning Board and Advisory Board of Citizens. They're going to review this project, and then they're going to make a recommendation, and it'll come back to us for a vote at a future date, probably in a couple of months.
Right. We're going to, because there's no complicated zoning conditions and no opposition, we hope to get this on next month for the Planning and Zoning Board.
Very good. Thank you. We now move to our discussion items. Our first discussion item is item 6.1. It's a follow-up from the October 20th, 2015 work session. Ms. Hyde will present this item and explain the action needed from council.
Good evening. This staff report is a follow-up to your work session from October 20th. At that time, council members had the opportunity to bring forward issues, projects, and priorities that were important to them. In this staff report, we have captured those items, excuse me, provided background and additional information for each item, and proposed follow-up actions. At this time, we are looking for council direction on these proposed action plans. We're happy to answer questions for any items and look forward to your direction.
Very good. Before I open it up to the rest of the council for questions, discussion, we were all there except for Mr. George, and I want to give you the opportunity first to see if you have any questions or comments, since you weren't there and we all were there. So.
No, I appreciate what was went over as far as the priorities. I think I had expressed since then and expressed before then, but I wasn't on council, that we do have 3 intersections that have met the qualifications for signal lights by the state of North Carolina, by DOT, and only one is being funded by DOT. So I'm interested in advancing 1 or 2 of the other ones toward to expedite that and pull in some money as we approach the budget process. So that would have been a priority thing that may or may not have gotten 2 or 3 other of you to sign on to. But they're all 3 in my district, and I want to support them. So 2 of them are on Cary Parkway, and one's on Maynard Road. So I want to consider that as we move forward with the budget. But that was the only thing that came up for me.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay, very good. How about a motion?
Ask that we make a motion to move forward with the staff's recommendation for this mini retreat list.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. And in the discussion, that doesn't mean by approving this we're ignoring what you just said. It just means that we're giving staff direction to proceed with planning the budget, and they'll come to us with options, and at that time we can say yay or nay on anything, just to be clear.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. When we had these discussions, our intent was to have the staff be aware of the concerns that we have, so that as they form the budget for 17, they can take that stuff into consideration. There were some items that have been pulled out and said we're going to come to you sooner than in the budget, and those are highlighted in there. But of course, staff hears your concerns about those lights, so I'm sure that you guys will incorporate that.
And usually those types of things come as an option. And so they'll have a recommended budget, and this will be one of the options. And if you want to do this, it'll cost this, and you'll have to get the money from somewhere. And that's the kind of the way we do it. And then we have that discussion at that time.
Great.
Right, and so that's a very good point, because if it's in here for discussion in the 17 budget, doesn't mean it's going to be in the 17 budget.
Right.
It's going to be something that we contemplate as we're deciding how to spend the money.
I appreciate
looking for more data and the costs and everything else, so we can make an informed decision.
Great.
Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hyde.
Thank you.
Now move to item 6.2, appropriations of funds to the FR 1044 Northwestern Cary Fire Station project for site acquisition. Ms. Cove will present the item and explain the action needed.
And thank you, and good evening, Council. As the Mayor did mention, this item for your consideration is the appropriation of funds to support site acquisition and preparation associated with the Northwestern Cary Fire Station project. The site is highlighted here in red. It's located along O'Kelly Chapel Road, just west of Yates Store Road. And staff has secured an agreement with the property owner in order to close on the purchase and other associated acquisition work. Staff recommends that council reduce the FR 1027, which is the Chatham Street Fire Station project budget, by $375,000, and that comes from the 2014 fire bond proceeds, and appropriate that same amount of money to the Fire Station 1044 Northwestern Cary Fire Station project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from council or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we reduce the FR 1027 project budget by $375,000 so that we can put the money into the Northwestern Cary Fire Station project.
Second.
Motion. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. Discussion. I really am glad that the staff is looking out for us in the future. I know there's a fire station in between that one and the one being proposed, so they're that far ahead. So that's a good thing, and it's a good use of money. So thank you for doing that.
That's a great opportunity.
Yep. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cope. We now move to closed session, and I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to GS 143-318-11A, I move that we hold a closed session to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of one or more individuals or prospective public officers or employees.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and you're in closed session. council meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a production of Cary TV. Visit the Town of Cary's website at townofcary.org.